My name is Sunny, and I am a professional ballroom dancer. When you're a pro, one of the ways that you make money is by performing either at a competition or a private event, and you're paid to dance for them. Often the audience wants to see many costumes on the lady, so between each song, we run backstage, change our clothes, come back out. And while the lady is doing that quick change, the lead, who usually stays on the floor, opens the room to questions from the audience to fill that time. And one of the most common questions I hear is, what are those shoes you're wearing? Are they special? And so I'm going to go over that today with you and answer a number of different questions. I'm also going to share with you what my personal favorite brand is, because just like regular clothes, there's lots of brand names to choose from. And I'll break down the different styles and such. So let's get started. Firstly, I'm going to break this down really simple in case you don't dance. There's essentially two types of shoes. There's a ballroom shoe that you would do in the traditional dances, waltz, tango, foxtrot, quickstep, Viennese waltz. And there are Latin shoes. Those usually are a sandal shape. And so you would do dances like you saw on the show Dancing Queens, cha-cha, rumba, samba, paso doble, jive. The shoes look a little different. The ballroom shoe for standard has a closed toe. It might have an open toe for smooth, but essentially looks like this. It's like a regular dress shoe. Sometimes the shoe will have a strap across the top, either diagonal or no strap, or horizontal across your foot, okay? And there's a number of different heel styles that you can wear with that, though in competition, we usually wear a 2.5-inch heel in the ballroom styles. Now, if you do pro-am, again, like that's the style you saw on Dancing Queens, where you're the lady amateur dancing with a professional, really any heel height is socially acceptable because they know you're not a professional dancer. And often these ladies are a little bit older, so they might have some orthopedic issues that would require them to wear an open toe or a closed-toed shoe or a lower heel height. So that's totally fine if you do pro-am. Usually these shoes are a flesh tone, like you see here. Could be a satin or a leather. I personally prefer satin because the leather tend to stretch out. And while you're dancing, you don't want your shoe wiggling back and forth. That would negatively impact your technique and your balance. Or sometimes you'll have the shoe dyed to match your costume. You can sometimes buy them in black, or white, but any other color is going to be custom dyed, okay? The standard has a variety of, and smooth, the ballroom dances have a wide variety of heels. And I will just show the most common ones to you. And I apologize, I am absolutely not a social media person, so I don't know how to edit my videos and stuff, but I'll just hold it up so you can freeze this frame. Or if you go to danceamerica.com, you can also find an image and just blow it up. Dance America is a particular brand, but they pretty much all carry the same brands, okay? So for the ballroom dances, okay, you have this contour, you have a flare option. 2.5-inch would be the most popular, okay? For the those of you who do pro-am who aren't as comfortable in that high heel, or maybe more of a beginner where you don't have that foot strength and balance, you might go with a lower heel. Something not pictured on there that's also pretty popular is called a slim heel. What that looks like this. So it doesn't really flare out at the bottom, okay? Again, they could be dyed to match, 2.5 inches flexibility with the heel style and height, okay? And secondly, ladies, we have the Latin dances where you wear what I called a sandal, okay? So this is what a Latin or American rhythm shoe looks like. American rhythm was the style that Pooja used to compete in Dancing Queens, and Latin was the style that you saw the ladies compete on in this show, okay? And same thing, these usually you would wear in a flesh tone satin because that tends to extend your leg length. Though you could wear a black that's also really common with maybe a black fishnet or a black hose, or maybe with a black costume with flesh tone legs that would look like this, okay? The one common thing these shoes do all have in common is they have a suede sole, okay? So it's not, oh, excuse me, these are a new pair. Sorry, ignore the size sticker on there. So it's not like a regular street shoe. It's absolutely not rubber. It's suede. So it has just the right amount of stick and slide to make your dancing be most efficient, okay? Oops, let me grab something here. I apologize for ducking out of the picture. Woo, okay, I'm back. So I talked about those heel heights. So when I was talking about the ballroom, that diagram may have been a little difficult to understand, so I kind of simplified it even farther. Excuse my drawing, I'm not an artist, but this is a slim style, a flare style, which is a little wider, and the contour style, which is similar to the flare with the flared out bottom, but it has a more narrow heel. So when you start out, you might go with that kind of wider flare, and then as you progress in with your foot and ankle strength, then maybe try that contour or slim heel. In my opinion, those look a little more graceful on the floor, but it's really up to you. There's not a right or wrong there. And the Latin has a little bit different styles to choose from. Those heels are 3-inch heels. But again, if you're doing Pro-Am, you do have a lot of flexibility in the heel height. You need to wear what's most comfortable for you. If it's hurting your foot, it's a bad sign. So again, forgive me, I'm just gonna hold this up, and you can freeze the frame if you wanna look at the different styles, or you can find these online if you go to a website and just click on the different styles of Latin dance heels, okay? So, same thing, you've got a slim option, you have a contour option, you have a flare option, and then for Pro-Am, you have a little bit of a lower heel height option, okay? So, as I said, those often come in the flesh tone. You could wear the black, you could dye to match your dress. Usually in Latin, you would just wear the flesh tone though, okay? Next up, men. So those are obviously different than ladies' shoes. So for men's ballroom, I'm not a dude. I don't have men's shoes, so I'm just going to show you a picture. In ballroom, we wear this kind of dress shoe, okay? And you'll see with that little short heel here. And then Latin, you wear the same thing, but it has a little higher heel height called a Cuban heel. And again, if you do Pro-Am, there's a lot more flexibility in that. I've seen some of the Latin men dance in the ballroom. Again, because of the heel height, the judges are absolutely compassionate in the Pro-Am that you might have some orthopedic issues that would require you to maybe go with a little bit lower heel height, and that's fine, okay? Now you notice these particular shoes have a patent leather finish. So pro tip, if you do go with the patent leather instead of the regular leather, use Vaseline inside of the shoes, meaning on the exterior of the outside of the shoe when you go on the floor. Otherwise, when you pass the feet, they might stick together and you could lose your balance. So for men, if you're gonna wear those patent shoes, just apply a little Vaseline before your comp, okay? The men's Latin heels, look a little different as well. I'll just do a little thingy here if you want to do a freeze frame, couple different options. Okay. And again, those could be patent, those could be regular leather. If you're teaching them, they could be a suede or even a mesh. Sometimes the Latin have what's called a split sole, where it's not a firm sole across the bottom, there's actually a kind of a little break where the arch is, so you can better articulate your foot, because in the Latin you do often do a lot of toes and it makes for a more beautiful leg line. But if you don't have the foot strength for that, or it's uncomfortable with your arch, that's certainly not required. That's really up to you. Okay. Finally, if you're practicing or social dancing or teaching, usually we would wear, for ladies, for men, you would wear the same shoe that you would in competition, because men don't have really high heels. But for ladies, we want to go really easy on our feet. I know a lot of ladies that have had to prematurely end their careers because their shoes have hurt their feet. And I've seen some horrible, debilitating foot issues, hammer toe, this sort of thing, even with like 18-year-old lady dancers. So if you're a competitor practicing, you'll probably want to wear the high heels the whole time. But certainly if you're teaching, if you're at a social dance, it's good to give your foot a little break. And ladies, you have, this can also be called a character shoe, this style, or the Cuban heel, which is very similar to the Leeds Latin shoe. I haven't seen a lady wear that really low kind of men's shoe, though that's not right or wrong. If you're teaching or social dancing, you wear what's comfortable to you. The most comfortable piece is going to be certainly that suede sole. If you're a very beginner, I would not recommend investing in proper dance shoes. Just show up with a leather soled dress shoe. Once you get a little more into dancing, though, I would graduate to that suede sole, because you're going to get... it's just going to be easier to dance at a higher level in those, okay? And finally, girls, little girls, they actually aren't allowed to wear heels in competition. And I'm glad they do that, because that could actually damage their feet while they're growing. So girls would wear definitely a lower heel, more like this, okay? And it's really cute. They also tend to wear these with little white ruffle dress socks. So it's cute as a bug's ear, but that's what the girls' shoes look like. Don't buy your little girl heels. It would look weird, and probably I might even disqualify you. I'm not sure about that. Okay, so now let's talk about the different brands a little bit. As I mentioned, many different choices. My personal favorite brand is called Supadance. Okay, once again, my favorite brand is Supadance. Supadance. Okay, so let me preface this by saying my feet are my feet. Another brand might fit you much, much, much better. So I'll describe my feet for you. I have a regular width foot. I have a slightly narrow heel. Okay, so I have had a challenge with some brands being too wide in the toe box, or especially too wide in the heel. Okay. I also have a high arch, so if the brand cuts across the top of my foot too tight, that can hurt me. So I need kind of a taller shoe box and a more narrow heel, okay? So for me, the Supadance works best, but I have worn many brands, and I'll just kind of do a little commentary on how each of those fit me. I can't possibly comment on all the brands. Also, if you're a ballroom dancer and you have a brand that works best for you, please do all of the viewers here a favor, comment below with kind of the shape of your foot and what your favorite brands are and why. Okay, because I'm sure that'll be very helpful to people if they're watching this video, okay? I've worn a brand called Capezio, an American brand. It's a little bit of a less expensive shoe, but for me, pretty comfortable. They stretch out a little more quickly than I would like, so I tend to roll with the Supadance. I find that to be a little sturdier for me, but that's definitely been an option. Diamante, I believe this is a German brand. I have purchased a pair of these before, but they were just too wide for me. The entire foot was too wide, so perhaps if you have wider feet, that might be a good brand for you, okay? Warner Kern, I've tried that. For me, it's too big and also too stiff. I do need a little bit of give and stretch out while I dance in the shoe so that it's comfortable for me, so I don't develop blisters. Sometimes when you get a new pair, you might develop blisters. That's not a deal breaker, but if that shoe doesn't break in within, say, 5 wearings, toss that shoe. It's not worth jacking up your foot for that, okay? Ray Rose, I have a number of those. For me, though they wear out quite quickly, so I don't wear those a lot. The international, I do have some of these. I find their Latin sandal to be comfortable, but for called the court shoe or the ballroom shoe, that's a little tight on the top of my foot and kind of hurts it. So I tend not to roll with that for the ballroom dances. Block makes a shoe that they advertise as a ballroom shoe. Unless you're using it to teach, don't get it. It's actually a character type heel, so really fat and wide, and unless you're doing prom, it would look weird on the comp floor, so I would avoid that brand for now. Although who knows, they're probably coming up with new styles every season, and hopefully they'll come up with one, because I'm sure if they do come up with a proper heel style, it'll work well. It is a quality brand, just not the right heel for competitive ballroom dance. And there are many brands that you might try that I personally haven't tried, like Dance America, Freed, many others. And finally, I have some tips for you on how to save money when you are purchasing shoes. So number one, I mentioned if you're social dancing, don't bother with even getting a proper ballroom shoe. You know, for those first few grid classes, just roll with a leather soled dress shoe. Even a cowboy boot will be comfortable. Next, once you do purchase a competition shoe, I recommend purchasing it's called heel protector. It's a little rubber tip that goes onto the heel of your shoe and it preserves it. Your shoes will last 10 times as long. They come with this plastic heel base, which if you're dancing properly will wear through really quickly, and you don't want to get like a cattywampus wear on one side of your shoe and then the shoes are essentially rendered useless. So definitely invest a little extra in the heel caps. You can get plain rubber heel caps or heel caps with a suede sole. The suede sole costs about 40% more. Definitely invest in those. They will last 50 times as long as those rubber tipped ones. But if you only have the money, at least get the rubber tipped. It'll still be worth the cost savings on not buying ballroom dance shoes every week. My shoes, for example, run about 135 pounds sterling. That's about, in today's dollars, $175. So they're not cheap if you get high quality brand shoe. Also, when you very first transition to proper dance shoes, go ahead and buy a cheap brand on eBay. If you want to spend a little more, purchase your first couple pairs at a competition where you can try on the different brands and make sure that it's going to work for you. Even a little less expensive shoe that's $80, you don't want to drop all that money on a shoe that is horribly uncomfortable and gives you blisters and you can't balance it, and that would be useless. So at first, go to a competition, try on some legit brands and purchase there. And then you can give that shoe a good test run. See, okay, how does it last for me? Does it stretch too much? All that good stuff, okay? So that's my 2 cents for purchasing shoes and what our shoes are like. I apologize, this video has run so long. I didn't want to break it into 2 videos, but if you like, please subscribe. Please hit the like button. Thanks so much for hanging in this long. And if you have any questions, comment below and I will definitely answer everyone's questions. And sometime, if it's a question I think everyone would enjoy hearing the answer to, I'll just make another video for you. So have an awesome day, guys, and good luck with your dance shoes. Bye.